What's good, YouTube? It's your boy EGF Hoops here with another amazing YouTube video. As just about the title, we're about to go over my top 10 most underrated players in the NBA as of right now. But before we do so, don't forget to hit that sub button because we're trying to hit 100 subs on this channel. Hopefully by March if I stay consistent, which I will be, 2 to 3 uploads a week as promised. Like the video and comment down below who you think is underrated so far. But let's get into this. Number 10 on my list is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's having a great season to only be 22 years old. He's averaging 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists on 50% shooting. He's on an OKC team that practically put themselves in position to tank and rebuild, but yet it's only 3 games outside of the 8th seed as of today. He's coming off a performance where he had 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists against the Los Angeles Lakers, the defending champs. He got fouled at the 3-point line, went to the free throw line and hit all 3 free throws to send the game into overtime. He's increased his points per game and assists per game every single season. He's in the perfect position to be the leader for this young, upcoming OKC team while they got all them draft picks. I think OKC gonna be set. Shai is definitely gonna be special someday. He doesn't get the recognition he deserves, but he's definitely gonna be special. But number 9 on my list is Brandon Ingram. Y'all may be asking, how is Brandon Ingram underrated? Well, as the Pelicans is only 1 game outside the 8th seed and he's on a young team full of other players that's also trying to get involved and put some stats up, Ingram is averaging an impressive 24.6 rebounds and 5 assists on 48% shooting, with 40% coming from beyond the arc, which is a huge upgrade in this man's game. If you watched him in Los Angeles, this man was so inconsistent with shooting. His shot in Los Angeles was like in the low 20s, from beyond the arc of course. But he's in a system with many players like Zion, Bledsoe, Lonzo Ball, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kira, who all has a usage rate of over 20% when they're on the floor. His defense is improving as the years go on as well. He's came from being a poor defender, you know how skinny Brandon Ingram is, to being at least kind of average. Which, even though he's average, being average isn't that bad when you're such an offensive monster like Ingram. He can get a bucket anytime, any place. We can go to the 8th one on my list, Norman Powell. Although Toronto isn't playing too hot this season, that's mostly because of their losses of Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. It's still important we recognize the underrated talent in Norman Powell. He's averaging 16 points on 43% shooting from beyond the arc. The 6'4" shooting guard doubled his points per game after Kawhi and Danny Green left, going from 8 points per game to 16. He was a player that was asked to step up and did just that when those 2 players left. His points per game is reflecting last year at 16 points per game, but again, he does his job right and he does it the right way. He plays his role pretty good for Toronto. I feel like he's underrated just for the simple fact that he plays in Toronto, to be honest with you. Because put Norman Powell in Los Angeles and he'll be, I don't want to say a star, but he'll be above average starter. He'll be looked at as that. But Norman Powell's name usually goes under the radar, and the average NBA fan doesn't know who he is. I don't even want to say average. The average casual NBA fan doesn't know who he is. His name still doesn't ring bells in many people's ears. Number 7 on my list is Bogdan Bogdanovic. Now, this is a player that still goes under most radars to this day, even though he's the first seed in the West. And there's a pretty good reason why, other than a historical shooting season they're having from beyond the arc. I'd say he's the 3rd best player behind Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. Don't take those 2 in any type of order. I think Donovan's a little bit better than Rudy, to be honest with you. But that's besides the point. Although he's not an all-star talent, he's definitely an above-average starter. With his shooting ability and his ability to play the 3 or the 4, he stretches the floor for Gobert and Mitchell. Again, I feel like he's one of the main reasons why they have the best record in the league, being the 3rd best player on that team. Bogdan is averaging 16 points, shooting 42% beyond the arc. Although his defense is average at best, Bogdanovic has improved his points per game every single season, and his shooting percentages continue to grow every single season as well, with the exception of him playing more than 30 games, of course, because this season is still just starting. Not gonna stick too much longer than that. Let's go to my next one. Number 6 on my list is Tyrese Haliburton. He's the first and only rookie on this list, to be honest with you. He's a rookie that's been consistently good for the Sacramento Kings this season, especially adjusting his play style, as in college and in high school he played the 1. He's playing the 2 primarily, and I think he runs the 1 with the 2nd unit, not too sure. I've seen a couple Sacramento games and that's just how it's been. But I still feel like he's very, very underrated, although he's a rookie. He's doing great playing next to Fox at the 2, but Tyrese's consistency compared to majority of the rest of the rookie class is what makes him underrated, as well as unusual shot falling at a high clip, with him shooting an amazing 46% from 3 and shooting 50% in general. He impacts the team night in and night out, and he's getting 5 assists and 4 rebounds along with 12 points a game. He's played at least 23 minutes every single game of the season, 23 being the minimum. He's only played under 30 minutes maybe 3 or 4 times through this first 20 or 25 games this season. In his first 20 games in his career, he's really impacted his team in positive ways with his dynamic play style and his intangibles. If you want to know how Tyrese Haliburton is underrated, the quickest way for me to answer that question is this stat. He's 17th in offensive rating as a rookie. That's impressive, and again, we'll just answer that question alone. We're not going to stick too much on the rookie. We got other people to go. Number 5 on my list is Nikola Vucevic. Now, I'm sure you heard of his monster performance against the Bulls, putting up 43 points and 19 rebounds a couple weeks ago. But what if I told you he puts up great performances kind of normally? What if I told you he averages more points, rebounds, and higher three-point percentage than Anthony Davis this season? Although not the defender Anthony Davis is, it's still impressive for someone to be putting up great numbers like that, but he's not getting recognized because he plays in Orlando. He's led this team to the playoffs a couple of times and again just doesn't get the recognition he deserves. He's improved his three-point percentage by almost 10% this season and is having a career year for points per game. The Magic's only 2 games out of the 8th seed and 3 games out of the top 4 as the East is closer than anyone really acknowledges. Vucevic is averaging about 23 points per game, and really after Markelle fell down and just Orlando poor draft stock, I mean, they don't do much in the offseason that really impacts or pushes them towards anything. Aaron Gordon's getting older. Jonathan Isaac is injured. Markelle is injured. At this point, a lot of people saying that they should just tank, but Vucevic is really keeping them in the game. He's constantly putting up these performances, and you ain't gonna hear about him until he gets a trade or eventually leaves. And when he leaves, his prime will probably be over. He's going towards the end of it. He's on a 5-year deal. When that 5-year deal is up, he's probably done. But let's go to 4. Number 4 on my list is Collin Sexton, the young bull out of Alabama. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I live in Cleveland and I'm a Cavs fan, and when they picked him, I was really upset because Michael Porter Jr. was still on the board, but I'm kind of happy they did this because he turned out to be good. He couldn't shoot a lick from behind the arc in college, and as y'all can tell by any of my other videos, if you're someone under 6'5", you have to be able to shoot, in my opinion. Really 6'6", 6'7", but you should be able to shoot. He was a point guard that couldn't shoot, but now he can shoot, and he's going really underrated because he plays in Cleveland, 1, and 2, he's only 22 leading this team. They was in the playoff picture for majority of this year. Now let's talk about how he's underrated in my opinion. He's averaging 24 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists, and is shooting efficient 49%. with 43% coming from behind the arc. He had the Cavs in the playoffs for majority of the season so far, but now they're just 1 game out of the playoff picture. That's majority due to Seti being in and out of the lineup. Kevin Love hasn't played a lick this season, and Darius Garland is in and out of the lineup with injuries. So Sexton's pretty underrated to me. Sexton's a great defender, and it's obvious when you watch him play. He leaves it all out on the floor. He's having a career year in points, assists, and majority of his field goal percentages is going up, which is expected with this being his junior year in the league. Kind of underrated. Number 3 on my list is Malcolm Brogdon. The 2017 Rookie of the Year has been underrated since that year, if you ask me being a Bucks fan and watching them still. But in Milwaukee, he had a great impact and they let him walk. So he went to Indiana and made an even bigger impact. Malcolm, being a good defender, playmaker, and shooter, all goes under the radar because he plays in Indiana and isn't the most flashy player. If y'all follow many sports pages on social media like I do, they don't recognize how special his game is and how good of a co-star he is to Sabonis. Indiana is 5th in the East and has made the playoffs every single year Brogdon's been there. He's averaging 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists, with that 22 being +5 of an average from last year, so we improved his points per game by 5 points. He stepped up with TJ Warren being out and Miles Turner not playing as good as he did the years prior. And with LeVert not being able to join the team, him and Sabonis has been able to keep Indiana in the playoff picture, which is really impressive in my opinion. He may make the All-Star team this year, he may not, but he's minimum going to be a reserve. He has to be. He's playing good basketball. But let's go to number 2 on my list, which may be a surprise to many people. Dejounte Murray. And again, this may be a little bit of recency bias because that 8 steal game, but I was a fan of Murray before the ACL injury came back. He wasn't looking so good. I'm happy to see him kind of be back to normal this season. DeJounte's the starting point guard for the Spurs and is having a career year, averaging career highs in points, rebounds, and assists. Again, he tore his ACL 2 years ago, and when that happened, all the hype behind the young guard died. But with a 6'10" wingspan and getting 8 steals against the Warriors, as I said a couple games ago, I think it's time we acknowledge his game. He's leading the Spurs to the 6th seed so far while averaging 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Great play for a guard that most casual NBA fans either don't know or don't really think about when talking about the guards under the age of 25. This man has lots of potential and is a defensive monster when playing other guards in the league. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, his shooting percentages isn't too hot. They're pretty league average-ish. I think maybe a couple's below league average, but he's an average shooter at best. but I still feel like he's underrated because of his defensive capabilities. I mean, when you think of the top 5 defensive guards, I'm pretty sure that this man's name probably doesn't come to your head as it should. But we finna go to this honorable mentions because during the making of this list, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it was kind of hard to distinguish who should be on here, who shouldn't, what's underrated. My opinion, y'all opinion. So we got this honorable mentions category before we get to one. Honorable mentions, Julius Randle. He's averaging 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 47% from the field and 38% from behind the arc. With the Knicks being tied for the 8th seed, and those all being career numbers for Randle, I think it's pretty underrated. Although he did get the credit the first 5 games of the season, his hype is definitely going down, in which it shouldn't. They're tied for the 8th seed. He'll be the leader of a Knicks team that hasn't been to the playoffs in 8 years. Next, Donovan Mitchell, one of the leaders on the 1st seed in the West, and is playing great basketball right now. He's been pretty clutch too if you haven't been watching Utah games like I have. He's averaging 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists on shooting percentages all above 40%. He's just been playing great. We just don't see Utah talked about that much this season outside of that historic 3-point shooting that they've been doing. Next on my honorable mentions list is Gordon Hayward. Y'all may be asking why, but this is another player outside of the top 5-10 games, hasn't got too much hype, and that's mostly because he plays next to LaMelo Ball, who gets majority of the hype on that team, especially when they win. LaMelo could have average 10 points and they win the game. They're going to post him even if Hayward put up 25. That's just facts. They've done that before. But him and Melo has been balling off this season. And again, with Melo being what's talked about when it comes to the Hornets, we often forget they signed Hayward this offseason. He's having a career year. He averages 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists for Charlotte. Him and Melo has Charlotte as the 6th seed in the tough East. Again, the East do have a lot of tough teams that scrambling for that 8th seed in that playing game. Just off the top of my head, the ones that's probably going to have to fight for it: Indiana, you got Charlotte, you got Atlanta, you got the Wizards, the Cavs is up there. That's 5 off the top of my head. I mean, there's not many teams that's not fighting for that. But let's go to number 1. Number 1 on my list is Dante Sabonis. He's having another career year in points and assists. The future 2-time All-Star. Yes, I say future 2-time All-Star because he will be making the All-Star team this year. If Sabonis doesn't make the All-Star team this year, we're going to have a problem. You're going to hear a rant because I'm not an Indiana fan, but you got to recognize greatness when you see it. He's averaging 21 points, 12 assists, and 6 rebounds. Last year, we seen him take a leap, and this year he's taking another one with his starting shooting guard out and his starting center not playing to where he was last year, as I said before. TJ Warren is out as well. We almost never see him do anything on any of the social media pages, and Indiana isn't even mentioned, as I said with Malcolm Brogdon, as a top team in the East. Sabonis is putting up the best numbers in the league at his position. Not saying he's the best power forward, but he's putting up the numbers while winning. He's shooting a league average 37.5 from behind the arc, which is his career high, as he expands his game every single night. He's increased his 3-point percentage every single year. This year is at league average, which is impressive in my opinion, because as we gonna see in the future from the Derrick Rose video that's coming out in 3 days, spoiler alert, hit that sub button, like, comment down below. He's expanding his game as the league goes on. He's averaging a career high 36 minutes per night, but that's cool because he has Indiana in the playoffs. And that's about it for this video. This video was a banger and I had a lot of fun making it. But before we go, don't forget to look at my links down below. I have my IRL channel. We're trying to hit 500 subs on there. EGF Ron. We make a lot of IRL lifestyle content. I have my shorts channel, which gives you highlights / sneak peeks of videos before I post them. Reaction channel isn't up yet. My gaming channel isn't up yet. And that's about it, y'all. I love y'all more than I love myself. Hit that sub button because we're posting 2 to 3 times a week on both of my channels. And that's about it, y'all. Peace.